Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Matthew, Watty's channel, back in the game room as we continue on with the My Favorite WWF LJN tournament. So, I know the spot's a little bit darker than normal, but I just wanted to try a different background. So, this video, I believe this is part 5 of round 1. Now, there's only 7 names remaining. So, with that being said, we're going to have 2 one-on-one matches, and then the last match, the third match, is just going to be a one-on-one-on-one. But I am going to do things a little bit differently this time. I'm actually going to select 2 winners to move forward. So, we have 16 winners currently. We're going to have, obviously 2 winners from the first 2 matches, and then 2 more from the third match. So, 4 out of 7 will make it on to round 2, which is going to be awesome, and that will give us 20 victors overall for round 1. And I did pull all the remaining 7 figures, so they are by my side here. Right now, we're just going to go through the hat, kind of jumble these up the best I can, and see who our first competitors are going to be. Alright, so, first matchup is going to feature the president. Nope, we're not talking about that president. Only one Donald Trump in this video, or in this tournament. This would actually be a pretty solid, no, not Ronald Reagan. I think this would probably be more like the first George Bush. But it is going to be President Jack Tunney. And he is going to do battle against Bobby Heenan original. So, we'll start with Bobby Heenan. I said it before, when it comes to original LJN figures with multiple variants, like the 2 variants of Bobby Heenan or the 3 variants from Jimmy Hart, excuse me, I'm only going to choose one of those figures. I really don't think you really need all those others. So, of course, Bobby Heenan with scrolls. Why? Because, oh, excuse me, because it gives you a little bit of extra design. Oh man, I keep feeling like heartburn and and it's like going up into my throat. Bobby Heenan, I don't know. Bobby Heenan and Ric Flair, I could not stand these guys as a kid. It seemed like they always cheated. Bobby Heenan always seemed to be a cheater, and I didn't like the way he talked. They called him the Weasel for a reason, and I got that impression every single time. I absolutely loved him as a commentator, though. Doing interviews with, alongside Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect, whatever. No, I didn't like the whole bad guy Bobby Heenan image. But when it comes to, favorite commentary analyst, of course Bobby Heenan, to me, is like a Mount Rushmore type of character. Now, just like I appreciate Ric Flair much more as an adult because of his longevity and his success, I feel the same about Bobby Heenan. In fact, I think pretty much any negative interaction I had about Bobby Heenan as a kid, I could definitely reflect on as an adult and be like, this man really was the brain. He was an absolute genius at how he parlayed his character. He was a former wrestler, as we know. Most managers are. So, I absolutely love the fighting pose that they give Bobby Heenan. They don't give him some generic manager-type pose. His is actually a very playable figure, which is fantastic. The thing about Bobby Heenan, you kind of look at him, he's like a Jimmy Hart to an extent. Always being tacked and then thrown around like he's a rag doll. But then, now and then, he'd they throw him into a match. I remember him dressing up in the black singlet like Andre had, or Bundy for that matter. No, because Bundy went around both shoulders. Andre only had the one strap, but I forgot who he squared off against. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe he won that match. And it's how do you go from this bumbling, Bobby Heenan, the Weasel, the guy that's scared off so easily, to being a very strong competitor in the ring. So that was kind of weird that they did that storyline. Bobby Brain, his face, a perfect image to the real life Bobby Heenan character. Great outfit, love it. One of my favorite action figures from this line, no doubt. I kind of feel like it's going to come down to like a Bobby Heenan or like a Jimmy Hart. They would have to, right? It may not be original, it may be a custom. But they're just two of my favorite manager figures, and Bobby Heenan in particular is one of the best figures, period. Not a top 20 because there's so many great wrestling figures, but wrestler or not, this is still pristine. And he squares off against President Jack Tunney. So for a long time, Jack Tunney was like the figurehead of the World Wrestling Federation. And honestly, as a kid, I don't even know if I even knew that Vince McMahon was owner of WWF. I didn't think maybe Vince McMahon had anything to do with like the wrestling outside of being like an interviewer and commentary, tableside commentary, stuff like that. I don't even know how old I was when I finally realized that Vince McMahon was actual owner. And brains between these different storylines and gimmicks and stuff like that. And like I said, Jack Tunney was just like a figurehead. The name is he's present in name only, but not really in action. What most recently, when I was talking about the 1994 Royal Rumble, and he comes down to ringside after Lex and Brett both go over the top, and you're confusing the heck out of Howard Finkel. First he announces Lex, and he comes back and re-announces Brett as winner, and then he's like, your winner, and then he like stops, pauses, checks with the referee, checks with Jack Tunney. Your winners are Jack Tunney. I can remember that guy entering, in certain capacities because I've seen those, but I don't know if I ever remember the name Jack Tunney. Not until I got into collecting did this name finally mean anything. It's nice to have a Jack Tunney figure, no doubt about it. This one, I think they could have done a little bit better. Not the most pristine condition. Like when you look at the back, you could see, shavings around the back of the head, where the head was cut out and everything. And I don't like that they cut out the microphone. I mean, that kind of kills it as well. I would have left that microphone in there. That's would have worked beautifully. And, yeah, that's just disappointing. Not a horrible figure. I mean, this is one I got from Harvey. Absolutely thrilled that he sold this figure to me with all the other fantastic figures. I'd rather have it than not have it. And even though he is not going to defeat Bobby Heenan in this matchup, I think it's still a fun figure to kind of give a shout out for Harvey. And I think this one was just probably overutilized a little bit to the point where they cut it down too much that they just couldn't repair it without making it look weird. It happens. I'm not complaining. I mean, when you're looking at it from this point of view, you're not looking at it from the back, so who cares? This is what you want to see right here, and still looks good. So, Bobby Heenan moves on. Alright, next matchup is going to feature Vince McMahon. Ooh, interesting. Vince McMahon and Slick Customs. If I'm not mistaken, I believe both of these customs came from Buddy Daly on eBay. You know him as Stangergq. Custom Vince McMahon and Slick. So we will go back with Vince McMahon. One of the things I've mentioned in the past, I always give so much hate for the Ron Simmons Galoob, because his hand is tied to is up with his hand and his right arm is up like so. But I never give so much slack to Vince McMahon, even though he's basically the same thing. Right hand is fused to the chest, no in between or anything like that. I mean, the hand up pointer finger kills me. I hate. Why do all these figures have a pointer finger? You know, during usage, they get cut off. It just, no, to me, I'm not a fan of that. Now, with so many flaws, excuse me, with so many flaws to the figure, is there a reason why I enjoy this figure so much? Well, here, for starters, Vince McMahon is not intended to be a wrestler. When you look at figures like Slick and Elizabeth, which I classify as like dolls and whatnot, you know, Heenan and Freddie Blassie, they're not intended to be wrestlers. They're intended to, like, you be figures that you just have as a kid, you put off to the side, you use them as a commentator, maybe, you know, interview or whatnot, and it's supposed to look good, and it does. On the shelf, it displays fantastic. Most LJNs display incredibly. Very few figures do I look at and be like, nah, I don't want to keep this for my collection type of deal. But I own it, so it's mine. This is a fantastic piece. Now, do I like the blue blazer better than the red blazer? I don't know. I really do like the blue and gray just a little bit better than the, you know, red, white, and blue. Or red. Actually, no. I'm just looking at it now. It's got kind of like a light baby blue vest, where they kind of turned this into like a simple three-piece suit here, with the pants, the vest, and the jacket. Still a fantastic piece for what it's supposed to be. If you want to use him as like a 1990s Vince McMahon wrestler, with the situation of the hand, it's still a playable figure in that regard, because you can still throw punches and body slams and clothesline and whatnot. So it's very serviceable. What am I missing? Oh, there it is. Sorry. The Slickster. I don't know how to feel about this one. Like, I've always liked it a lot, but kind of looking at, you know, the original Slick and then recently getting in that purple version of Slick, I don't think this is like my favorite version anymore. Well, no, cause I still feel like the original gray suited Slick was better, just for the simple fact that I like the gray suit better than, you know, this off-white. It's not really a beige color, and it's definitely not brown. I just say off-white, darkened white. You know, they got all these random colors. Because look at his t-shirt. That's clear white, right? So, this vanilla colored, you know, pants and jacket. Even like the buttons and like the little chain, they kind of painted over that, so that kind of sucks. I do think that the 1920s like newspaper hat is, I don't know what else to call it, is a very nice touch to this particular figure. Instead of going with, you know, the black hat that comes with the original Slick, it's a more updated version. Kind of like your Babe Ruth type of hat. I mean, that's the only way. I don't know what these are called, so I just call them Babe Ruth hat or like newspaper hat. But it is a very good looking figure nonetheless. And like I said, even though he's got very, you know, simple changes and modifications, it's a different figure. A simple paint change changes the whole identity of the figure. It makes it unique, makes it splash. Slick is just not a great... No, I can't say that. Slick is an excellent figure. It's just... I don't know, he's just too tiny. If he were like the size of like Jake Roberts, that would be fine. Because Jake Roberts and, you know, Slick have adequately similar, you know, poses with the arms. You know, Jake obviously hands are up like this so that he can hold the snake over his head, yalla. Whatever. But it's a very simple design. I'm not a huge fan of that. So, I think it's a very simple decision for me, at least, that Vince McMahon does defeat Slick to move forward into the next round. I'm just all over the place today. It's my third video that I'm filming today, so Oh, what is this? Oh, check that out. So, apparently, what is this? Oh, never mind. I just put in the same thing. Alright, so we're good. So, the last three that we're looking at is going to feature original design of Mean Gene Okerlund, original design of Elizabeth, and original design of Mr. Fuji. So, we will start with Mean Gene. Mean Gene, again, when we talk about voices of childhood, you think about wrestling-wise, which, like many kids our age, there's hard to find, especially for the boys. Girls, I'm sure, there are many, wrestling fans as well. I knew a lot of boys that were wrestling fans. I didn't know of any of the girls in my class that follow wrestling to watch. But we think voices of childhood. Yeah, Mean Gene Okerlund, he's like right at the top of that list. And then you got to think about like other things that, voice of childhood. When you think of age 5, 6, 7, who are you watching at the age of 5 that really inspired you? That has like that soft-spoken voice, like a Mr. Rogers type of deal. It's like Mr. Rogers on that. You think of like Bart Simpson, right? Hey, the Simpsons have such philosophical value, and for a show that's been on the air 35 years, I mean, come on. The Simpsons have been on almost as long as I've been alive, so I talk about like real Americans, TV show right there. And I hate hearing that, Mean Gene Okerlund died, because to me, I think he was about as passionate of the business as anyone. And I think what you see is what you get. There wasn't like any behind the scenes. This wasn't like a behind the scenes monster type of deal. With what you hear of like Vince McMahon nowadays, the Vince McMahon that you see in the 80s, early 90s, doing commentary and, big up in the studios and talking and on Coliseum videos, and you're welcoming the viewers in to view that tape and whatnot. That's the Vince McMahon I always want to keep in my head, right? That is one of the more important people of life. And then, later on in like late 90s, you see this steroid, built freaking Vince McMahon and, beefing with like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm like, no, that's not how I want to remember this man. I mean, the man created a freaking dynasty. A dynasty that's probably going to live on for... I mean, at the end of the day, it's a TV show. And it's been successful for decades. And for the next foreseeable future, you're not going to see that show go anywhere. You could kind of look at it as like not only a TV show, but all like spin-offs. Like AEW could be a spin-off, and TNT could have been a spin-off of, and what's the other wrestling show? Oh man, going off topic, but I just hated hearing that Mean Gene died. It was just like I said, there's a certain people that you want to live forever. His figure to me is pristine, exactly the type of look you would love to see for Mean Gene. I think this is one of the most well-crafted figures excuse me, for the respective character. Trying to think. I'm looking at the shelf right now, and I'm looking at the figures. I'm thinking like which one best suits their respective figure. Vince McMahon is very close. I think Series 1 Hogan maybe. Bruno Sammartino, because of, how wrestlers posed in like the 60s and, 50s, 60s, 70s, might, fit that particular figure. But I don't think anyone has ever, like, had the mold situated to the particular character as well as Mean Gene. So, for that case, I am pushing Mean Gene as my first of the two to push into the next round. Next up, we have Elizabeth. I don't know if Elizabeth is necessarily my least favorite LJN figure. I've never talked about her as being one of my least favorite. As a playable action figure that I would probably use as a kid, no. I'd have absolutely no use for the Elizabeth figure. It's completely pointless in that regard. But when I talk about my top 10, least favorite LJN figures, this figure is never even considered, not even for a little bit. And why is that? Well, one, it's Elizabeth. We all love Elizabeth. First love for many people, I'm sure. She is essentially a doll. It's hard for me to look at her as anything other than a doll figure. She's like a Barbie. So I don't really consider this to be like a wrestling action figure. To me, it's just a Barbie. So it doesn't, I don't even know if I could even incorporate this figure with the rest of the LJNs for that reason. Another reason, she is a manager, and she's not intended to be like this big professional wrestler type of deal. Even though I think she got in the ring and did some wrestling here and there as well. I mean, her throwing off Sensational Sherry was freaking awesome. One of my favorite memories of Elizabeth. And what was that? Was that Ultimate Warrior? I'm trying to remember. See, like all these matches, they all bleed in together, so it's hard to kind of remember. But once Macho Man, lost the match and Queen Sherry's whooping his butt. In the entire matchup, they keep panning to Elizabeth in the crowd, and she's constantly showing all this fear for her husband and everything. And then she hops over that railing, comes storming down the aisle, jumps in, knocks Sherry all, throws her out of the ring. Incredible. I watched that probably, I don't know, man, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months ago for the first time, and God knows how long, probably since childhood. That crap made me tear up then. It made me tear up now. That is one of the most beautiful moments in wrestling history, is seeing that embrace and see Macho Man lift Elizabeth on his shoulder. It kills me that I can't remember which one it was. It was SummerSlam or no, it wasn't WrestleMania. I know that for sure. I want to say Royal Rumble, but it's not a Rumble. I'm thinking of a SummerSlam matchup. Kind of looking at my tapes, but none of them kind of stand out from here. But I do, at some point in my life, plan on watching those. Oh, I gotta stop with the videos today, guys. I can't stop coughing, and my throat is like killing me. For what it is, I like the Elizabeth figure a lot. I like it as a Barbie figure. I don't like it as a wrestling figure, if that makes sense. The last one is going to be Mr. Fuji. So we did see one Mr. Fuji variant, well, not a variant, a custom, and all they did was paint his eyes, give him eye black to kind of blend in with the Demolition Tag Team that he managed. Maybe not the Fuji I remember from childhood, but still a very familiar design of Mr. Fuji, because he was always in this penguin suit. And he'd always use his cane to like knock someone out and help his team get the pinfall and whatnot. As a professional wrestler himself, or a former professional wrestler, he does have a relatively good design for fighting. So this could be a very playable action figure, not just as a manager, but as someone you could throw into a ring, like tag team matchups, or if you wanted to do a Royal Rumble. And he's someone who's got a good girth to him, so you can, he'd be fun like Lou Albano. Someone that could do a lot of damage, but not anyone that you'd really utilize as, something you want to use as like a champion and just do battle with. He's not like a go-to figure type of deal. His design is incredible. Beautiful look to what, he wore and everything. The hat is, like I said, man, it's like your Hasbro Undertaker and all your other, Bart Guns and Papa Shangos and stuff like that, man. Akeem figures, etc. I don't mind that they have this built-on hat. It just means it's one less accessory that you got to worry about being lost. In fact, I don't care so much that I would have actually wouldn't care if like this was like rubber and the cane was built into his hand. You know what? You got Jimmy Hart's megaphone built into his hand. I don't mind that being like if that was rubber built in, that would have been, you know, you would survive. Okay, it's not going to hurt anybody by having that in there. But I kind of feel like many people would sit there and cut that out or something stupid and destroy it. But one of the more important accessories. So I kind of talk about like a lot of the like the guitar and the hats and stuff like that as, you know, being some of my favorite accessories between like LJN and Hasbro. Bone breaking action. He mentioned to me that, you know, the accessories that you can utilize as weapons are really the best ones. You know, Hacksaw Jim Duggan's 2x4. You know, the canes from Freddie Blassie or Mr. Fuji, for example. You know, things like that. I mean, that'd be awesome. And I understand where he's coming from on that. Makes a lot of sense. I don't know how. I don't remember where I did a LJN accessory list, and I did a Hasbro accessory list way back when, and I don't remember where I put the LJN cane on that list, but I'm thinking it was like probably near the middle somewhere. Oh, I guess so me and Gene already pushed forward, so that means that we have one more figure out of the last three to choose, and to me, I think the second I put Elizabeth down and went to Mr. Fuji, we already knew Mr. Fuji was going to be my next selection. So, because I got 4 winners, 4 out of 7 figures moved on in this round, in this video, that gives us 20 winners heading into round 2. So, round 3, we'll start with 10 winners, 5 winners, and that's going to be in round 4. So I guess round 5 and 6, I can technically classify as one video. That's because that's going to push us down to. I'm going to probably when I get to those rounds, with the last 5 figures, I'm going to have a one-on-one, and then I'm going to have a one-on-one to close it out, and I'm going to choose 2 out of the last 3 as well. Reason being, I much prefer having a 3-man finals than a 2-man finals. One, it gives another option to another figure to move forward, to win the thing. And I just think it's just more fun to have more competition. Mr. Fuji, great figure. I couldn't get his custom in to move on to the next round, but 1 out of 2 ain't bad. And this is the one I prefer anyways, over that, you know, eye color scheme custom. Alright, so as of today, I have, well, I mean, I'm going to post these videos out of order anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but the 6th and 7th episode of my military service real chat videos were made today, and now tournament video 1-5. So these videos are going to be posted in the next couple of weeks. I think I still have 2 more videos ahead of this one to post, so you're probably not going to see this video until probably end of February, early March. Alright guys, if you have any questions, anything about the tournament, anything you'd like to see, anything, you know, that you'd like to ask me personally, please, as always, feel free to reach out. Always available. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.